A very good morning and welcome back to another daily market outlook. Euro dollar has been moving exactly as expected. So as we can see, yesterday we failed to put in a new high. So after mentioning in yesterday's market outlook that we had a rejection, another rejection, we failed to put in a new higher high. So what we're seeing is pretty much exactly what we were looking for yesterday. We saw a break of that fractal low in towards the downside, a pullback and then continuation. So overall, what you were actually looking at over here was pretty much the push up, push down, push up. This was the low to break for fractal structure, and then we pushed down, broke the low, and then after that we pretty much had the confirmation that we were ready to continue in towards the downside. So why are we now continuing in towards the downside after tapping in towards an area of demand over here? Well, that is because this area of demand is not substantial. An area of demand is only actually valid once it achieves something, and this area of demand would have been valid if we, for example, were able to break this high over here and create a new higher high. That is when this area of demand actually means something. But as we can see, all this area of demand did was just push price in towards this pretty much supply zone of these wicks. We saw liquidation of the high and then reversal in towards the downside, and we tapped in towards there after seeing a bearish change of character, hence why we are now currently moving further in towards the downside. And I do not really expect this area of demand to hold. Obviously we can expect some form of rejection, maybe a pullback in towards these areas of imbalance and then just continue down lower. So for now my main target is zone number 1 on euro dollar for the upcoming week. So that is euro dollar for now. Looking for further downside, you can go in towards the 15-minute time frame, and then we'll very clearly see is the overall trend shift. So this was the high that got broken. We broke this low, bearish, pulled back in towards this area of supply and then continued in towards the downside. Lower low, lower low, lower high and a lower high. And now obviously we've put in a new lower low. So let's say we do pull back, then obviously we could even pull back all the way in towards here before seeing that further downside push from supply. So for now, just following the overall order flow on euro dollar further in towards the downside. Now going in towards the dollar index, because the dollar index has also been moving very interestingly. As we can see, we moved in towards that refined area of demand. We pushed in towards there. Then we saw a pushback in towards the highs, facilitating a change of character on this bearish candles high over here. So this one at 1 a.m. I think it's last night on Tuesday, or no, on Monday on Tuesday. So what happened yesterday is pretty much the exact same as on euro dollar. We saw that downtrend form. We then pushed in towards that demand zone. We again get this bullish candle in towards the highs, breaking this high over here. Then boom, we pull back and then we just continue up higher. So overall, still expecting the dollar index, to continue up higher and pretty much take out the liquidity which is resting above these highs, and maybe this be our first target, this imbalanced candle over here, this doji candle, as zone number 1, which should be next for the dollar index as long as the overall bullish trend sustains. Also on the 15-minute time frame, a beautiful structure shift which we also highlighted in yesterday's video. Supply over here got broken, as we can see over here in towards the highs. We pull back down in towards demand, and from there we just continue up higher, and now again you can see higher highs and higher lows. So still expecting further upside from the dollar index. Now going in towards Aussie dollar, what we can see over here on Aussie dollar is absolute beauty. Pretty much also explained in yesterday's video, we respected this high of this bullish candle, so the overall fractal structure remained bearish. I was looking for shorts from here, and we can see how beautifully it played out. Push in towards the downside, reaction, and then just continuation. So for now, as long as overall this doji candle's high over here, this one holds, we should continue further in towards the downside. This is your imbalance. So let's say we do pull back, then we should be continuing further in towards the downside. Here to our left, there's not really any substantial area of demand from where I expect the market to, let's say, get a full-blown reversal from. As we can see, every single demand zone has already been mitigated, and therefore I do expect that Aussie dollar should continue further downwards. Now going in towards pound dollar, because I'm in a pound dollar short at the moment, still expecting further downside from this pair, at least all the way down in towards here. If we go into towards the 1 hour, that is your fresh area of demand, with liquidity resting all beneath these lows. So going in towards the 4-hour time frame, pretty much the same as on euro dollar, but what I mentioned in yesterday's video is the overall ascending nature of price. So very, very corrective, pushed all the way in towards the highs, grabbed the liquidity, and now just simply looking for that further downside continuation to happen. As well, no real bullish momentum. Every single time you break a high, we just retracing, squeezing in towards the highs. So therefore I was expecting a correction all week, and we are now finally getting it. So still looking for that further downside and targeting that 1 hour demand zone first, with the potential of moving down even lower and putting in a new lower low. So that is euro dollar, or pound dollar, excuse me, pretty much. Going in towards the 15-minute time frame, pound dollar has been extremely messy and rangy, as we can see. So not really focusing too much on the 15-minute time frame as of now. But as we can see yesterday, what happened beautifully is that we tapped back in towards that buy for the sell zone, then once again in towards that buy for the sell zone, then once again in towards that buy before the sell zone. So every single time the buy before the sell is acting as your area of supply, and we should continue down lower for now. So that's what I'm looking for on pound dollar for the downside. Now going in toward NZDUSD, because NZDUSD and Aussie dollar have actually been the most beautiful of all. What we can see on NZDUSD is beautifully how price pulled back in towards that supply zone and just tanked in towards the downside, exactly as expected. So for now, what happened? Nothing really from this zone number one. Now we're in zone number two. We're seeing the initial reaction. So that is why we do not just randomly start buying on areas of demand and supply, or sell from supply and buy from demand, because you want to look for this candlestick confirmation before then taking that long. Otherwise you can just get stopped out completely. Now we're inside this area of demand, expecting some form of a bullish reaction. As we can see, we're seeing slowdown on the lower time frame. So start looking for a pullback once we see a fractal change in structure. Currently, the fractal high is the high of this bearish candle. This over here is your fractal low. So this is the bearish range that we're trading in between. If we break that high, look for longs. If we break the low, then for example, this becomes your new fractal high, and then just wait for that to then look for a long. I'm not going to be shorting anymore from here due to the fact that we're now currently situated in an area of 4-hour demand. So preferably I am now looking for a long, at least back in towards this area of supply over here. So that's what I'm looking for on NZDUSD. Now, last of all, gold. What I'm looking for on gold at the moment is still further upside. As we can see, gold has been extremely slow. Still looking for further upside. We saw a fractal change in structure yesterday, so break of this high. Now pulling back, and now I'm looking for that upside continuation. So the current fractal low is the low over here of this bullish candle. So as long as that low holds, we are still looking for longs. Then going in towards the 50-minute time frame, just simply look for a 50-minute structural shift. A lot of liquidity building up beneath these lows, preferably to get the liquidity swiped. This becomes your high, break the high, and then look for a long. That's what I'm looking for on gold. Nothing really much for the rest. Still looking for longs back up in towards that supply zone number one. However, if we do move further in towards the downside, because we are forming a lot of liquidity underneath these lows, then I will be looking for long from this zone number two. So long from zone number two, short from zone number one, and short-term longs as long as we keep and remain this low. But we need to see a structural shift on the 15. So thanks so much, guys, for tuning in today's video. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, make sure to let me know, and enjoy today's London session. Thanks.